Proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. Ain't so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world got all twisted, leaving him stranded on a rock in the sky. He gets up, sets off for the Bastion, where everyone agreed to go in case of trouble. Ground forms up under his feet as it pointing away. He don't stop to wonder why. Finds his lifelong friend, just lying in the road. Well, it's a touching reunion. He sees what's left of the rippling walls. Years of work undone in an instant. In the calamity, that a survivor? No, ma'am. It's a gas fella, forced out from underground. Kid's worked up quite a thirst by now, so that fountain looks real inviting. Sometimes you just need a drink. Gotta hold her still to spin up the chamber. A school of squirts tunnels up around them. Must have fled here from the mines. He sets foot inside one of Zealandia's famous watering holes. Inside's old Rondi, the bartender. The calamity got him before his drinking did. Then Kid finds his trusty shield. The security takes him for a petty thief. Special delivery. Gas fellas. Windbags start turning up for last call. More squirts start coming out of the woodwork. A big old fella pops out in front of the kid. Kid sees the way to the Bastion out the window. He gets a good look at things on his way down. He lands on top of a breaker's bow, and it ain't broke. Good news is the emergency defenses still work. Bad news is they're aiming for the kid. He finds the distillery, right next to the arsenal. Tough part of town. One sip of the spirits in that distillery, and the kid'll feel like a new man. The arsenal's where the kid can pick the best tools for the job. Some of them squirts birthing like crazy and a couple of corn bins. An old ferry barge sends the kid on his way. The Bastion's real close now. Right back at you. Kid takes a chunk of alloy. Smell of barley and spoiled blueberries fills the air. Scumbags. Kid maybe shouldn't have done what he just did. He finds the core to the wharf district. He steals the city's heart. Might as well. Well, down he goes. Down toward the Bastion. Now the kid sees something stranger still. His mind races. Did anybody else survive? Sure enough, he finds another. He finds me. And just like that, the Bastion comes alive. Starts growing again. Growing stronger. Kid's gotta put its power to good use. Now the Bastion can send him even farther into the wild unknown. Kid ponders what to build. Kid don't know what's out there waiting for him. Now he lands at the intersection between bad and wrong. Ought to be a core down one of these twisted streets. But which one? And there it is. But it's locked down tight in an alloy cage. A blustery old foreman's keeping his fellas in check. And now there's a new marshal in town. He hears the whole place groan, but it's too tough to follow. He comes back, just like I knew he would. The core hums in his pack. The monument's calling for it. Kid does it again. Only fair he decides what we build next. Picked up traces of other cores while the kid was out. In better days, the melting pot was sealed tighter than the skin on a squirt. Of all the plans to survive the calamity, it had to be stab weeds. If there's a core, he figures it ought to be deeper down. Now what could possibly go wrong? Some of the stuff lying around is downright dangerous, quite a bit, as it turns out. The cage starts lifting from the core ever so slow. All Kid can do is wait. Shipments start falling in. Not every squirt's born bad. Some spring to the kid's defense. Judging by the movement of the cage, it's gonna take a little while. Scumbags don't take kindly to interlopers. Even some gas fellas take his corner. Heard it pop that mean old foreman. At this rate, maybe 5 more minutes, maybe 30, hard to tell. Squirts get real territorial around the core. Then a shipment of free samples shows up. It ain't all bad, as the kid finds some spices from the motherland, tax-free. One thing's for sure, that cage is awful heavy. Troublesome scene, to be sure. A few moments left, and the core goes free. 10, 9, 8, 7, give or take a few seconds. Finally, the core's within reach. And done. He's got it. Just gotta get to the nearest barge. I still remember the look on his face after that one. The old world's finished, but the new world's just getting started. Makes time to sample spirits from my personal supply. Couples used to walk the sundown path. Kid ain't here for pleasure though. But then, somebody gets to the core before the kid. Floor starts giving way under the lightest step. The single panic squirt can bring the whole place down. Well, the path ain't exactly open to visitors no more. See, the path was intended for leisurely strolling and such. Sky bridges link the path together. One of them bridges whips the kid along. Air travel always was an iffy proposition, but calamity changed everything. Even when the wind blows. Well, if we mastered the winds in the old days, we can do it again. Who else could have taken the core? they used to ship live munitions down the path. Even gas fellas need some shut-eye from time to time. They get real cranky when you wake them up. In all this toil, Kid keeps coming back to an overwhelming question. Who else could have survived the calamity? So he didn't find the core that time, but that ain't about to stop us. The dead welcome him with open arms. The calamity took everybody after all. Kid sees it plain, frozen faces all around. These folks never saw the calamity coming, but someone did. Someone close. It was someone like him. It's a snag or two trying to get to him. He ain't about to stop, no matter what. He's got so many questions after all. The Thunder brothers didn't make it. Nordy, the bird boy, didn't make it. Just think, without that man, we wouldn't be here right now, would we? But him, he survived. What do you say to a man who's seen too much? Kid hasn't a clue, but he says this. He's a proper gentleman, that man. His name is Zolf. No hiding he's an Ura. Folks like him ain't never been a common sight in Celandia. He's relieved to see a living face or two. The kid and I introduce ourselves in kind. Both to him and to each other for the first time. The cores, they remember. That's why this place is coming together. That's why things are gonna be all right. Well, look what we have here. We tracked down a couple more cores near the edge of the city. There's only one way in the cinder brick fort. The hard way. Sure, the city marshals may be gone, but now the fort's crawling with windbags. The calamity was mercy for normal folks. Well, windbags young and old keep fighting for the fort. At least the marshals left the kid a parting gift. Something the windbags just can't handle. Something that'll punch clean through their greasy hides. Windbags ain't much different from normal folks. All they want's a warm place to stay and a decent meal. Cinder Brick gave them enough heat and metal to munch on for a while. Well, the fort ain't theirs by right. Kid's stash of grenades is there for him if things get even worse. Security's plane gone haywire. Windbags gummed up the works. They trapped the kid in the middle of the fort's parade grounds. The Skyway's a welcome sight after all that. And now ain't nothing left for nobody down at Cinder Brick Fort. Kid shows up just as Zolf's telling me about his own journey to the city. Zolf's travels ain't much compared to what the kids had to go through for all this. No use praying to the gods these days. No time for it either. Folks used to make pilgrimage here to pay their respects to Pith, the bull. Well, the gods are long gone now, and the orchard core is long gone too. In time, though, the bull stopped being a symbol and started being decoration. Pith makes a decent scarecrow at least. Then Pith lights up like a rodeo. Kid don't need favors from the likes of Pith. Must have been guarding that shrine. Popping windbags is hard enough. No need to get the gods involved. Well, if the gods are alive, they must be plenty sore. Kid ain't found a core, but at least he found Zolf's precious shrine. Now we can build a shrine of our own, though I got some alternatives in mind. The Langston River flowed free and wild till the calamity drank it all up. Maybe all that water just grew wings and flew off. Riverbanks swarming with windbags. They're so bent on finding the core, they hardly notice the kid. Lucky for him, a certain famous ferry barge is still afloat. She sends some squirts crying home as she leaves port. Maybe Nellie knows the way to the core. Maybe she can slip right past all the clamor on the coast. Or maybe not. A security skiff pulls up portside. Nellie's just another windbag to those guns. Just then, the windbags notice who she's sailing with. They're pretty steamed about what happened at Cinderbrick. They try to cut her off. They try to slow her down. They try to knock her out. Well, Weepin' Nellie tries harder. Try as she might, though, she hits a snag. Kid's gotta help her get untangled. Favors for favors. At least she picked a good spot for a break. Just the core's right there. Then the kid hears an unusual sound, like 100 flapping wings. They had their own eyes on the core. But why? He finds Weepin' Nellie raring to go. Turns out she's got a special surprise for when the waters get rough. Crafty things think they're king of the roost now. The rest of us only wish we could fly in times like these. Security skiffs keep on coming starboard side. Don't seem to care what they shoot, as long as they hit something. Kid almost falls again. The windbags get an even better idea. They aim to smash Weepin' Nellie to splinters. Well, it all proves too much for poor Nellie. She's just gotta make one last stop. With her last breath, Nellie gets the kid to solid ground. Solid ground in Pecker country. They want that core real bad. Seems a calamity ain't hurt the Peckers' appetites. Kid shoos them off, knowing they'll be back. Know how many times Kid nearly fell off the barge back there? 3 times. Now, listen close. You should remember this next part. Why go to Prosper Bluff? Used to take an enterprising man or a plain old fool to venture out that far. And that's why you go to Prosper Bluff, ain't it? The other kid hears something he ain't heard in a long while. How's it go again? Yeah, that's the one. Well, no point explaining what happens next, right? Suffice it to say, kid ain't coming home empty-handed. And besides, it's like the song goes, they'll be here before too long. We darn near celebrated when the kid got back, didn't we? Zolf never thought he'd see a fellow or again. We become fast friends. Calamity has that effect on people. But there was more to be done. There was one last core to find. Kid's surprised when I tell him there's only one core left. I shouldn't have believed it either. We tracked the final core beyond the city to the wilds. The wild unknown. Place can eat a man alive. Place is so raw, even the Calamity couldn't cook it. Not all of it. Pecker's got the core, like they're building the Bastion of their own. The welcoming committee scrambles to attention. Didn't expect the kid so soon. They shouldn't have let their guard down. Getting that core was one thing. Getting out's gonna be another. He digs his way out of the clearing, but the wilds won't let him go without a fight. Then kid gets the feeling he's being watched. Not by me, by a lunkhead. He's anxious to get back. After all, he's got the final core. His journey's over, right? Well, no, it ain't. Not by a long shot. Kid knows something's up when we ain't there to give a warm welcome. See, Zolf and I were just wrapping up a heated discussion. Zolf can barely muster the words. The Calamity failed, he says, but I will not. And with that, Zolf leaves us here, alone. Zolf banged up the monument pretty bad. But there's a way to put her back together. The shards. We're gonna need all of them to nurse the Bastion back to health. After Zolf's little episode, Kid sets off in search of shards. First stop, Jawson Bog. You'll get lost in that bog, I told the kid, and I won't be able to guide you back. Well, I let him go. What else could I do? What could any of us do? But the shards can make it better. They're like smaller doses of the core's medicine. Shame the only place to fill that prescription is out here in the wilds. This place is intoxicating. Don't know where he's gone. Might be gone for good for all I know. Wherever he is, somewhere I've never been. Somewhere I never want to go. dead and welcome him with open arms. Kid pops him good. That a survivor? No, ma'am. It's a lonesome ghost of a gas fella. I'm Zolf of Liura. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Did anybody else survive? Peckers, lunkheads, wallflowers, pincushions, vine apples, swamp weeds, ankle gators. Kid sets foot inside one of Ceylondia's famous watering holes. The security's just gonna have to straighten him out. He's a petty thief. Succeeds where the calamity failed. Would you look at what he did to poor old Rondé the bartender? Proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. It's so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world's alright, snoozing there on a rock in the sky. He wakes up. I'm just fooling. He sees what's left of the rippling walls. Years of work undone in an instant. He sees what's left of his lifelong friend. His friend, he's come undone too. He sees what's left undone. Thought we'd lost him, but he finally comes to. The shard ain't lost either. Not anymore. Now to find a ticket out of this hole. Ever heard of a lung blossom? Bootlickers dig their nasty thorns into his heels. They say one whiff of lung blossom can make you lose your mind. Well, the kid prunes it down to size somehow. Mother only knows what happened in the bog. Kid never much cared to speak of it. A shard is like a poor man's core, but beggars can't be choosers. That's it. A few more shards like that, and we'll be back in business. A single shard can breathe new life into this place. The shard's got enough juice to spruce up any of these places. Black rye is like hot pineapple chowder on a cold day. Brings back memories. Ankle gators used to roam the wilds, and they nested at Rothus Lagoon. Many a tale folks used to scare their children straight originated here. They used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things. The brushers use their pikes to keep their distance around here. Now the kid can do the same. Queenie leads the kid into some kind of twisted trap. The closer you get to an ankle gator's lair, the thicker the tall grass grows. One bad step in that tall grass and he's Queen Anne's lunch. Those leaping lunkheads don't like Queen Anne any better than the kid. Wanna know how to find an ankle gator lair? They use a kid as bait. The shard's sitting in plain view. Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere else to go. He's got it. and he's home free. Rest in peace, Queen Anne. That was for the brushers. Kid's done what needed to be done. Queen Anne's reign is over. We even got a crown jewel. All that trouble for a single shard. But you know what? It was worth it. We need an awful big lost and found under the circumstances. The next shard should be farther out there in the wilds. Know how Caelondia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaine. If the wilds could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. Whole place shudders in a fit. The grand rail of Point Lemaine. Not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices. The Army's triggers once had the place on lockdown, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. Grand rails all grown over with things the Calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. Kid don't let so much as one of those things slip by. Of course, the Grand Rails seen much more fight in bygone times. It was right here that Zulf's forefathers decided to mix it up. Near on 50 years ago, first shots fired in the Caelondian War. Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole Grand Rail thing. The rail must have shook the to the bone down in those dens of theirs. Well, the rail won't last much longer now that the kid took the shard. That was bad. It's still got one good run in store for him, though. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath? While choking on swamp weed? While peckers trying to prick you in the eye? Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. But then, at last, it's the end of the line. He'll be picking swamp weed out of those boots for days. Turns out he's got company up at the rail station, waiting for him. Turns out he's wrong. This is for you, says the man. Then wham! When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note. That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? It ain't too late to unlock the potential of this place. The arsenal's complete, in case we need protection. The shards are getting harder to find. Not everything blew up in the calamity. Why, Colford Cauldron here blew up way ahead of its time. The cauldron boiled over some 300 years ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. As for us, we learned an awful lot from Colford Cauldron. Sure, we dusted off a good many secrets out here, but we discovered other things we're better off not knowing. All sorts of awful things crawling underfoot. Places inhospitable as they come. After all, when we looked down inside Colford Cauldron, we saw in there the heart of the world. The heart now laid bare by the calamity. As for the kid, he just has to get that shard out of there. Too bad taking that thing woke up every last stink eye from here to Charleston Bog. Where there's one stink eye, there's always more. Biggest stink eye he's ever seen's waiting for him on the other side. The cauldron's tenants all gather up to bid the kid a fond farewell. With a good spyglass, you can still see the cauldron from the city, but all the fires died out. There's nothing left of it. It comes back looking like the inside of a chimney. The shard works like a charm. You can hear the monument's heartbeat again. The memorial may be finished, but our part is far from over. Can't rightly call Mount Zand a mountain anymore. There's no more mountains now. There's no place left for the beasts of the wild to go. The creatures of the wild, they've been building a bastion of their own. Best thing we can do for those beasts right now is put them down quick and clean. Look at it this way. It's either them or us. Those beasts been hard at work fixing up the place. But if we win, they win too. Our bastion is everybody's game. Not just ours. We just really need their shard. He's done what's best for him, don't you worry. Don't you worry. We'll all be better off once the bastion is complete. The monument's getting better. Zolf sure did a number on it, though. Ain't saying much, but that's the greatest forge in all the city. Imagine everything you'd need to build a city like Zealandia. It takes hard work and planning, and it also takes a burstone quarry. The Ura tunnels beneath the quarry must have softened the blow from the calamity. Same goes for its natives, rattletails. Not only are these rocks a source of life, keeping the quarry free from pests turned out to be a problem. We found that the oldest ones remember things. Now why would the Ura sell off such a fascinating place? Might be the gods told them the quarry's bad news. But there was even more to it than that. Remember how I said rattletails ain't the worst thing in the quarry? That honor goes to a beast we took to Colin, Sir Lunky. Massive fangs stomped many of our boys. We just couldn't get rid of him. We never could get stubborn old Lunky to leave the quarry alone. Then the kid hears a voice calling from down the hall. "Are you all right?" it says. "I've come to warn you," he says. We talk for a spell. The Bastion is under siege. Let it fall. You should not go back. Kid hears him, but he ain't about to be deterred. "If that's the way it is," he says, "then I won't stop you, because my countrymen will." Say what you will about Zolf, but he's a man of his word. His countrymen don't much care for pleasantries, though. They got inside the Bastion and shut the door. Kid's gotta go in through the back. The Hura think they got him. They're wrong. Zolf showed them the way here, and here they came to take revenge. Unfortunately, they broke in, and they started digging their holes. Something wrong sprung out of those holes, and it's eating away at this place. I couldn't stop them. I ain't a kid no more. After that, the Hura, they left. They'd done what they aimed to do. Zolf's plan worked. We find each other as the dust settles. Then I tell him why the Hura came. To get us back for the Calamity. It was Caelondia's master plan to wipe the Hura out. But part of that plan backfired, didn't it? If only Zolf knew the whole story. The shards can put this disease in remission, but there's only one cure. We need to finish what we started. Seems the gods recommended this place to all their friends. One last shard. It's all we need to put this mess behind us. And mother, what a mess it is. A mess like that could have only been made by hand. Zolf said the Calamity failed, and he's right. The Hura stand as living proof of that. At the heart of the Calamity was a simple idea. We sought solutions far beyond the city. We never wanted to go to war again. Wanted to rule it out. Most of our efforts didn't bear fruit. Then there was a breakthrough, but it didn't come from one of our people. It came from an Hura, a brilliant young scientist named Ven. Ven worked for the Mancers, the sharpest knives in the city's drawer. With his help, the Mancers devised a way to seal the Hura tunnels shut in a flash. Just like that, every last Hura living in the Tassel terminals will be gone. This discovery was never to be used, they said, except as a last resort. But Ven didn't like being manipulated. He had plans of his own. He sabotaged the Mancer's little science project, set it to blow up in their faces. But remember, the Bastion can fix everything. We just need that shard. Too bad the Hura ain't exactly been willing to collaborate on that front. For now, Kid had little choice but to pick up where the Calamity left off. First things first, though, there's someone we figured needed rescuing. Zia. The Hura fell back, no doubt planning the next move. But we knew ours already. There's something we had to do before going after that last shard. Well, now it's personal, ain't it? It's personal for him, and it's personal for me. The Calamity did something wrong to some of them rocks. They've got these conductors that are all what's keeping the place together. Well, the Hura must be in a panic right about now. They even sick their little rattletail pets on the kid. By now, every Hura from here to the terminals must know he's in town. The Hura keep hanging on to their barricade. After all, their homeland's not much farther. Maybe they know they've lost this. Lost to a kid. Yes, our people caused the Calamity. But here we are trying to fix it. As the hour grows desperate, the Ura bring out their big guns. You had to see if everything Zolf wrote to you was true. Once the kid gets that last shard from Zolf, it'll all be over. I can't hear him at all anymore. He's too far away. But he'll be alright. The Calamity hit the Tassel terminals hardest of all. You know why Zolf went back there. Zolf must be there all alone, just waiting. All his old friends and family were there. You know what's funny? Look around. There's not much left to do here in the Bastion, I'm afraid. So why not tell each other stories to pass the time, right? When the kid brings back that shard, the Bastion will be complete. Problem is, we'll all be gone. Oh, we're not gonna die. It's more like all of this will just stop. Things will go back to the way they used to be. This whole place is a living record of the times before the Calamity. You be your old self again. Think of all those times that didn't go your way. You follow me? No mistakes. Anyone you've ever hurt. Everything you've ever done. You could do it over. And wouldn't that be grand? I guess there's nothing more to say. Who am I kidding? Look. There's something else. A confession. How come I know so much about the Bastion? Well, I designed the place. But that's beside the point. There's one problem with a place that sets things back to a bygone time. So you're probably wondering, if the Calamity happened already, you can't test it. What's to stop it from happening again after the Bastion does its thing? The answer is, I don't know. You're wondering if there ain't some other way out of this mess. It's all right. I can tell. But why would you even want another way? Unless you wanted to stay here with us. The weight of the Calamity, it's on our shoulders. We can't just let it go. Bastion does have another function. Strictly speaking, if ever the monument blew out and we couldn't repair it, we could still evacuate. First, we'd round up as many folks as we could carry. Next, we'd detonate the cores, and we'd take off away from here. You know Zolf and his countrymen won't be giving up that shard without a fight, don't you? Zolf and the Ura, all they want now is to see the Bastion fall. can't have imagined the city would try to wipe the era out. Zolf ain't lost every shred of decency though, has he? He tried to warn you about his plans. He tried to warn the kid. For Zolf, this ain't a personal matter. It ain't a simple matter of pride either. One thing's for sure, the Ura can't be happy that the kid followed Zolf all the way home. Kid saved Zolf once, but I don't think he'd make the same mistake. I wouldn't. Don't you worry though. Once the Bastion's restored, it'll all be alright. You ain't still thinking about that whole leaving the city thing, are you? Kid's probably dealt with Zolf by now. He reminds me of myself when I was his age. I ever tell you about those days? Hey, kid. Get up, kid. Come on, that ain't funny. I said get up. That's more like it. Now, set that shard into the monument there. Then we'll talk. The Bastion. It's finally finished. Now, there's something I want you to see. Welcome to the heart of the Bastion. I ain't one for long goodbyes, so here's the deal. Zia and I figure you done the heavy lifting, so you get to do the honors. We can tell you how to work this thing if you got any questions.
You made it.
Hey, kid. Oh, mother. And here I figured you'd had enough of me by now. You could have undone the calamity itself, but instead you want to stay in a world like this. I gotta admit, kid, I ain't yet put much thought in that idea of carrying on with you here. We can't go back no more, but I suppose we could go wherever we please. And if anyone's left out there, I sure would like to see the look in their faces when we dock this thing right on their doorstep. Getting ahead of myself, though. I'm gonna need a first mate. What do you say?
I say